Out of ice cream? Forgot the diapers? Don't feel like going to the store? Am I right? Skip the trip with Amazon Prime Now. Prime Now is the super fast delivery service available exclusively for Amazon Prime members. Download the Prime Now app on your smartphone and get access to thousands of products available for delivery right to your door. Choose from free 2-hour delivery and 1-hour delivery for $7.99 in select areas. That's hours, not days. If you need it, get it without leaving the house. Get the app at primenow.com and start shopping fast.
Blog Talk Radio.
All right, Dirt Talk World. Y'all know what time it is. It's that Dirt Talk Hour time. Glad to have each and every single one of y'all on the listening waves here tonight. Damien, my co-host, he's hopefully going to be calling in here in a little bit. Damien went on a fishing trip earlier and floated a little bit too far down the river. They said they had boat motor problems, so he got thrown a little bit off course, and it's supposed to be on his way back in, but so shout out to Damien. Hopefully he's listening to us there. But what a weekend it's been. I tell you what, rain has hit the south, and it won't let us go. Canceled Friday night's event out there at Hattiesburg Speedway. Well, Saturday night was a little bit better for the state of Mississippi. Jackson Motor Speedway was able to open their night up, and Magnolia Motor Speedway up in North Mississippi, they were able to get their event in as well, even though after Friday night's event was postponed. We'll give you some stats and all here in just a minute about that. Tonight's show, we're going to have Kelley Carlton on. Kelley Carlton has a resume about as long as a Walmart line on Black Friday. I guess that's what Damien, Jason had pointed out. I thought that was a pretty good way to hit that line there. Jason, I got a great producer, comes up with some really cool stuff. So Kelley will be on at 8:10, and then we're supposed to have Michael Arnold, who actually won last night in the Crate Late Model Series at Jackson. He's supposed to be calling in at the 8:30 mark, but I don't know. He hasn't answered any text today after confirming a couple of days ago. So, Michael, if you're listening in, give us a heads up. That way we know you're going to call in at the 8:30 mark. Once again, we'll go in over here to the stats. Jason, are you in the backdrop there?
I am here.
Jason, our producer, he's here. Waiting on Kelley to call in, so we'll give you a real quick update from Jackson Motor Speedway from last night's event in the factory stop. Patrick Easterling seals the deal in the leaf spring. He comes home first. Justin Ross finishes second. Cliff Childers, last year he ran the NeSmith Street Stock Series. This year he's racing the factory stock. I believe Steve Peacock, the Birdman, is supposedly his car owner there. So shout out to those top three in the NeSmith Street Stock Series. Jeff Butler took home the $1,500. Donnie Monk finishes second, and Jesse Beck finishes third. In the upper wheel modified, Neil Baggett took home Corky Garrett's number 51 win, and Greg Hollingsworth, the man who seemed unbeatable in the state of Mississippi, well, he was beatable last night in Jackson, Mississippi. Race Taylor finished third. How about that name, Race Taylor? I mean, you can't get more racy than that. And in the NeSmith Crate Late Model Series, Michael Arnold brings home the win. Doug Sander getting a big top two for him. And Bobby Jordan finishes in the P3 position. We'll bounce on over to the Magnolia Motor Speedway. Listen up, guys. You can always get your weekend stats on yellowcautionflag.com Facebook page. That's where we're reading these stats from right now, coming off the Facebook page itself at yellowcautionflag.com, Dirt News and Promotions. Magnolia Motor Speedway's Golden Egg Classic results, April 2nd. Car count was 87 cars. NeSmith Crate Late Models at 31, 25 by the street stocks, 14 factory stocks. We've seen that class grow in the last couple of years. And the 602 late model stocks, 17 there. Factory stocks for 14 if I did miss that one. NeSmith late models, Chase Washington, the number 38. He comes home with the victory. Scott Deadwilder, the 33, I do believe he's running for NeSmith points. He finished second. Daniel Bridgman finished third. And let's jump on down to the NeSmith the street stock, Spencer Hughes. That's right. Who's your daddy? again, the 15-year-old. He may not have no license to drive, but he's got a NeSmith license, and that makes everything all right. Spencer Hughes, number 11, the Who's Your Daddy? He comes home with another win. Jay Birchfield in the goat wagon, in the grocery getter. He finished second. Johnny Stokes, driving that 93 Stacy Robinson machine, he finishes third. In the factory stocks, Brad Gable in the 47. He takes home the win. Heath Beard second, and John Beard in the third spot. Tony Shelton makes it 2 for 2. Tony Shelton Jr. Finishes second, and Joey McKinney in the 602 late model stocks finishes third. So that's your stats from the state of Mississippi, and hopefully we'll get some more racing in there next week. Jason, did you not catch any racing this week?
I was unable to. It rained on and off all day Saturday, and it got really cool Saturday night. As a matter of fact, I ended up getting off work about 3 o'clock, and by 6 o'clock I was already asleep, and didn't wake up until late into the night, so kind of slept through it either way. So.
Well, I tell you what, I went on a TV racing binge. Once we got the rain out call on Friday night, I had to come up with something to do, and I checked the old TV guide, and, man, I tell you what, I think I started off with the truck race, and then I went to Formula E, got to see Lucas DeGrassi win on the Formula E. And then IndyCar come on last night. I've still yet to Scott Dixon picked up the win. I actually fell asleep during the IndyCar event from Phoenix. So I woke up this morning and Formula was on. So I watched some Formula and then, of course, the Cup race was on after that. So, man, I went on a TV racing binge. And I did miss the Supercross last night. So, unfortunately, I didn't get to fulfill all of my obligations to the boob tube, but I definitely got to enjoy myself. It's great to see so much racing on TV. I know we're talking about the dirt because we are the Dirt Talk Hour, but you know it's great to see all this racing on TV. I think I even watched the K&N race from Greenville. That was really cool. So you know, nothing like getting caught up, even on a weekend where you get rained out. Kick the old recliner back, watch some racing. Tune into the Dirt Talk Hour on Sunday evenings. You'll get to hear all about it.
That's what I'm going to do after I get off here tonight. I DVR'd the Martinsville race, so I'm going to be catching that so that I'm ready for tomorrow night's Rubbin' is Racing at 7 p.m. So,
I tell you, that Martinsville race was pretty interesting. It had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of contact. It was, I'd say it was a pretty good race there, and I've seen teammates racing each other pretty hard, and that's always good to see. You know, even if they're your same teammates, you still want hard racing. And Austin Dillon and Paul Menard, they had to shake hands there at the end of the race. You know, if I was Paul Menard, I'd be shaking hands with Austin too, because definitely wouldn't want anything to happen to my ride between now and the end of the season. I'm not sure if Paul Menard's locked in for next year. And I think there's quite a few guys that could be up in the air. I'm hearing rumors Casey Kane is up in the air. I'm hearing rumors that several other drivers may not be where they're supposed to be next year. Denny Hamlin could be one of them, too.
I would be shocked if Paul Menard goes anywhere. I mean, he's playing with daddy's money, so why would Richard
He's done drove for everybody else, Jason.
I'm saying, why would Richard Childress give up a car that's guaranteed to have a sponsor? He's playing with daddy's money. Menard's is a sponsor, so RCR is not going to let him go anywhere. That's a free car that they're just collecting care on because the sponsorship's taken care of. If I'm Richard Childress, I don't know. I would probably bend over a little bit more for him versus some of the other drivers. Just because I know all the expenses are always going to be taken care of while he's there. Like, I'm not saying that Richard Childress just needs to lay over and let Paul Menard do what he wants. Paul Menard's a professional, and I've never really had an issue. I'm not a Paul Menard fan, but I've never had an issue with him. But also at the same time, if I'm Richard Childress, if the standard was, white button-up shirt like we talked about with Hendrick, and when they come out in their press conferences, they're all in black slacks and white button-up shirts with their sponsor logo on the front. If that was a policy at RCR and Menard, Paul decided let's change up things. if I'm Richard Childress, I might say, okay, let's go in a little different direction, make it my idea or whatever, just because I know I have a car that is pretty much free, collecting me owner points and collecting me, race purses. So, yeah, that's
right.
me.
Well, I think these new models that they have now actually make the team worth more than just the equipment there. So it definitely gives a bargaining power. And Paul Menard, I mean, he's been around for quite a while, and he has him a Winston Cup win, but unfortunately he hasn't been able to cash much into it. But I'm sure we've got Kelley there close to the line. We'll give you a quick resume on Mr. Carlton. He's had his hands in quite a bit in racing and had quite a few endeavors. He started as a runner back in 1985 at Confederate Motor Speedway, and he's had endeavors like a training coordinator, paramedic is his real job. We've talked to Kelley Carlton before, and glad to have him back on the show here right now. He's the Ultimate Super Late Model Series director, and also had his hand in the National Dirt Racing League there for a couple of years before it unfortunately went away. Do we have Kelley on the line here?
No, I don't have him yet. I do have a question while I wait for him to call in. And I saw this, and that's why I wrote it the way I did. He's got an extensive resume. When you sent it over, I was just like, wow, how all do I list, and so it's kind of why I went that angle. But if and this might just be a dumb question, but what is a runner? I was curious when I saw that on his resume.
Like a lineup runner.
Okay.
When the tower makes the lineups for the heat races and the qualifyings and the feature events, you have to have somebody to take those lineups to the pits and to the other places where they need to go. Good question though. Good question. I know what one thing that the producer learned today. He's got Kelley Carlton Motorsports Media and Management, Public Relations, and Event Management Company. It's been around since 1996. So guys, if you think you're doing anything new, you'll find out from Mr. Carlton here. He's had the idea a long time and has really made a lot of headway for people like me and other people in this industry to be successful. I can't wait to give him a call, give him a talk here. Is he on?
He got you on.
All right. Mr. Kelley, you on the line there?
I am.
Good to talk to you, boy. It's music to my ears when we get our guests online. Kelley, we've spent a lot of time talking about some of your endeavors here. What just initially brought you into racing, Kelley, as we open up the show?
It's a family thing. My dad owned race cars, and that was the thing we did on Saturday nights. It was a family thing, and I attended my first race when I was about 13 days old, and just been going ever since then. My daughter beat me though. She went when she was 11 days old, so.
Yeah. It's even a race with that. I love it. That's what we talk about all the time. Now, Kelley, when did you decide that your position in racing was going to be on the other side? And what drove you to that? How did all this come about?
Well, I think as a kid even, I was a little more to the mechanically inclined side and had a little more fun, or I felt like I had more fun of, working on things and fixing things and things like that. So I kind of that's really where it started. Was a friend of mine from high school, and we built a race car over the summer and raced together for a lot of years. And we took a few years off, and then we came back together and raced again. But in that time, I had actually found a way to get in the racetrack by working at some racetracks and helping out there, and that's kind of what really bit me. I really I did some running. That's what they called me, the runner, for a couple of years at my hometown racetrack before it closed up, and I really enjoyed the organization and watching how the actual behind the scenes things, how things came together, and the promotion side of it, and And then a few years later, when I actually got an opportunity to work at Lawrence County Speedway in South Carolina, the promoter there, he and his son kind of embraced me, and we really became a team. And I learned so much about the racing business at that time. And I'll tell you what really, really kind of got me sparked and probably drew my interest more than anything is he took me to my first RPM promoters convention. And
right.
I got to meet a lot of the guys that, your Emmett Hahn, who does the Chili Bowl, and Lynn Ackland, a lot of guys from around the South that have done this for a lot of years, and that really drew me in.
Yeah, it kind of grabs you when you start meeting some of the people that kind of open the door for you to be where you were. Tell me about that when you first started meeting these people, and now, I mean, you've done seminars for Humpy Wheeler, right?
We've done some of the stuff in the same places. I've been doing some seminars over the last few years, and a lot of different venues. We did some stuff at PRI once, and then at Tony Stewart's show a couple of years ago. And we've done some stuff at some of the Charlotte area, the car show that they had a couple of years ago, and some different racing sanctioning bodies and whatnot had me to do some stuff. And but I learned so much from those guys, and I'm really big about the RPM Promoters Convention. And I'm not a paid endorser or anything like that, but I think it really helps a race promoter to go and share ideas, and that's kind of what those things are all about, is sharing ideas and hearing what others have experienced. And so I'm really big on that. And
where is that RPM?
Well, the RPM,
where's that at?
It started out in Daytona Beach and in Reno, Nevada. But they actually have one in Reno, one in Daytona, and one up in Indy now every year. So it's a pretty neat thing. It's Race Promotion Monthly, and that's actually a monthly magazine that comes out, and it's free to race promoters. And again, it's a really neat. You can get an online version, or you can get the mail version. And they give out the ARPI Award, which is the Short Track Promoter of the Year award, basically, and it's a very prestigious award to have. Again, like Emmett Hahn and Lynn Phillips from Talladega Short Track, a lot of those guys have won that award over the years. It's just a really prestigious award. And so I really endorse those guys. It's really good for promoters to go and to those things and meet new people, share ideas, steal ideas when necessary, that kind of thing.
Now, tell us about your first competition director job. It says Lawrence, South Carolina. Before you say anything about that, it's a really cool story here because in 1995, my dad was a truck driver and his terminal was out of Lawrence, South Carolina. And just so happened that year there was we got laid over, and I think he was pulling tires out of the Michelin plant over that way. And so my dad took me down to the dirt track right down there. One of the few other places before I got into the business where I'd actually traveled out and been to a dirt track was right there at Lawrence, South Carolina. And if my numbers are correct, then that would be your actual first year that you were competition director. So I'm definitely interested in hearing about that first year there.
Well, again, I had gone to work for those guys and just kind of was in a fill-in role. One of my friends was actually flagging races there, and his job and my job kind of coincided with our schedule, and the day he worked I was off, and the day I worked he was off. So he had asked me to fill in for him a little bit there, and that kind of turned into a full-time thing over the next year or so. And then the promoter there, Fred Cogsdale, he really allowed me to become more involved with working with sponsors and writing rules and working tech and doing things for the racetrack, and so it became more of a more than just an official role. We started with they called me the competition director, and it's just kind of a fancy word for a guy who works here.
Right, but in reality, it kind of laid your groundwork for your future endeavors. I mean, this had to have been a really important time where you got your grassroots learning, right, from
it absolutely
for your future endeavors.
It absolutely was. I mean, Fred Cosgrove was my first racing mentor. I mean, I learned so much about the business from him, you know. And he was a hard-nosed guy, and a lot of folks kind of weren't happy or a lot of times with his personality. But I tell you what, he was a really smart business guy, and he was really successful for a lot of years. He's since kind of retired and actually leases the track out to somebody now. But I can't thank him enough for actually, like you said, laying that groundwork for me and allowing me to be able to kind of grow. And that's kind of the thing he was really good about too, is he kind of let us take the lead and grow and learn our own, and, you know, make our own mistakes and learn from that as well.
Yes. So after that, you kind of go on the road there, I guess, and you start traveling with the Southern All-Stars.
Yeah, at first it started out as a deal where I was the schedule whenever they had a race that was not against, you know, if we were off season or Friday night or something like that, I'd go and help those guys out. And the nexus of it was we had a Southern All-Stars race at Lawrence, and Lynn and I met, and we really hit it off, and we started doing things together, like I said there. And at the end of 1999, we were up at Thunder Valley in North Carolina and Cleveland County, and BJ, who I had met, BJ Parker, who I had met at On Southern All-Stars, and I learned so much about him and heard so much about him. And you know, I'd met him a few times, but he came to me at the end of that 1999 season and asked me if I wanted to work for him full time. And you know, it was just it was an opportunity I couldn't turn down. It was a really great opportunity.
Now, you pretty much stayed there from that time all the way through 2010. Now, during all this time, you were managing the Kelley Car and the Kelley Car Motorsports Media. Tell us about how that come about and your time management program.
Well, we started out. I like to write a little bit, and I did some stuff in college and whatnot with writing with some newspaper and whatnot in college, and I really enjoyed doing that. And some friends of mine were racing, and I had done some stuff when I was with Brian when we were doing our race team. I do little press releases and whatnot for our race team, and some guys started asking me about, you know, if I would be interested in doing that for them to help them out. So that's kind of how it started out, and so we were doing press releases for a lot of guys, and then of course by that time I was going to PRI a lot, and we actually got connected up with some of the companies in the industry and started doing some stuff for them, you know, promotional wise, doing press releases for those guys and helping them, you know, with things like that. So that's kind of how that media side of it started. We were doing at one point we had about 26 racers and about 15 companies that we were doing things for, and we just kind of had to slow down with that when I got so involved with the management and whatnot of Southern All-Stars. So I kind of, you know, backed down on it a little bit, but we were still doing off-season event management.
Now this was, I want to remind everybody, this wasn't, you know, 10 years ago or 4 years ago. This was, what 96, 97, 98? This was big back when the internet and all was really just coming about. A lot of stuff was still in paper, right?
Right, yeah. And that was the one thing I think maybe they chose me because I had a lot of contacts. I had a big list that we sent things to. But yeah, that's where it started at. But it evolved into event management. Basically, we started doing the Ice Bowl in 2000 and started managing doing the super late model portion of the Ice Bowl for Preacher and Alfred, and we did that every year up to 2013, and so that's kind of where the event management came in. We started getting a lot of racetracks asking us about doing some special events, and our program was really for, you know, somebody who might necessarily want to do a sanction type event, but they wanted to do it a little bit bigger show, but they needed some help with promoting it and managing it and, you know, contacting guys and that kind of stuff. So that kind of became a little bit of a niche market for us, and So at one time, we did when Frankie Lloyd had Golden Isles, we did the Super Bowl racing for a couple of years, and we did stuff at Screven Motor Speedway. In fact, we still do stuff at Screven Motor Speedway to this day, off-season stuff. It's evolved. We've really gotten in the last couple of years. We've kind of gotten involved with this front-wheel drive racing movement, and we started doing a lot with those guys.
That's a big-time deal right there, right? I mean, every year you add a little bit of money to it. It's an endurance race. Let's get into that. That's toward the end of the year. We might get some guys pumped up for that, Kelley. Let's tell them about that.
Sure. Well, we actually have right now. It's kind of boiled into 4 different events. It started out with Red up there at Screven. He was looking for somebody to do some technical inspection and event management for that race. He had done it 1 year previous, and it got really big really quick. And gradually more and more cars were coming. He started out that first year paying $5,000 to win this thing. Those guys, they're racing most places weekly for probably on average $200 to $300 to win on average. And so there was a lot of interest in it, and it really grew. And we're up to this year. It'll be $12,000 to win. I say this year. The next edition of it, which will be next February, will be $12,000 to win. But along the way, we've also added some events. And I tell you, man, I know I'm a late model guy to the bone, but I tell you what, we really, as a racing community, we're going to have to start embracing these guys. I know a lot of folks leave when they start to race. They always put them at the tail. I tell you what, these guys are really good racers, and they really put on a good show. Sure, there are some guys that are there learning, but they really do put on a good show. And we've had some fantastic races down there at Screven. Last year, or this February, we had 96 cars there racing for $12,000. And that was coupled with the World Outlaw show that was there. And and we also, a few months before that, we did a similar race up in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. We had 69 cars there, and that was just a $5,000 to win show. This year we'll have the race at Travelers Rest. We're doing a $5,000 to win show at Screven in November. We'll also be doing a $5,000 to win show at Cochran, Georgia in November or October. So there's some big events coming up for those guys who want to travel a little bit and race for a little more money.
Right. That's awesome that's kind of picked up off of that race, and now you're seeing it in more places, giving these guys something to race for. I think whatever class of racing it is, everybody needs that big event. That a lot of racetracks have a lot of big races throughout the year, but I think it's special to give those guys a big time event just for themselves, and then that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, they all racers deserve it. Everybody works just as hard on their race cars to get to the racetrack, and they spend the money that they have to spend on their race car, and they definitely deserve some recognition and to have, like you said, a signature type of event where they can go and showcase their talents. And like I said, I mean, there's not a whole lot of Monte Carlos left out there, and there's not. So these are the stock cars of today, and the young kids, they identify with them. It's what they see on the street. And they identify with them a little better. So, we're
My
really
kids call them the buzz
that.
cars, but they love them.
Yeah, and we're really trying to embrace those guys and help them to grow their side of the sport. Again, like I said, I'm a late model guy to the bone, and I always will be, but I'm really, really enthusiastic about helping those guys.
Right. Now skip on to where we are now, the Ultimate Super Late Model Series. That's kind of giving you a lot of stability there, and I guess in a way, Kelley Carlton has become a brand, a kind of a franchise, right?
I don't know about that.
I don't know, Kelley. You're world known. I mean, my goodness, don't underestimate it.
Well, and I'm very, very fortunate that I've had a lot of folks around me that have, I always try to make sure people know my guys are the reason, the guys that work for me and with me are the reason that our events are as successful as they are. They do all the hard work, You know, and I type a few lines on some papers, and I get to sit in the tower and talk on radios and things like that. But those guys will get out and work, and they do the stuff that need to be done. So, all those guys that work for me are really the backbone of what happens. But you're right. The ultimate thing has become a super big thing for us. It's grown every year. We actually weren't involved with it the very first year of its existence. That first year they had 13 races, and it started to grow a little bit even in that first year. But we got on board in 2012, and it has grown and grown and grown every year. This year we'll have about 28 events, and that's just for this region. We actually added a region also that I'm not exactly 100% involved with, but I'll be helping them out some too. And it's a really neat program. We've had a super good year so far. We only run 2 races, but our average car count right now is 34. And in South Carolina, North Carolina area, that's really strong in this region right now. It's just there's just not a ton of super late miles in our area, so that's a pretty good strong car count. And but the Ultimate Series too, one of the things that's really come into play is we're involved with Virginia Motor Speedway for their big shows, and they've been a big help in helping us grow. We actually have this coming up this weekend. We'll be at their place for a 20,000 to win, which is our richest show of the year. And those are great people up there. Everybody that's involved in our series has been really great.
Well, and Kelley, I guess what I want people that are listening to know is you've been from East Coast to West Coast. I would almost say that you're probably the most qualified person that we've ever had on the Dirt Talk Hour to give us this answer. What's the state of racing right now, Kelley? Give us your honest opinion.
Well, I think there's certainly good, and I think there's certainly bad. We're getting better. We've gotten into a little bit of a lull there, and I think a lot of that was driven by economy. But we also, the internet has been a great tool for us, but it's also hurt us in many ways.
Yes, I agree.
Perception is reality, and unfortunately, if one guy goes to a racetrack and badmouths it, and even though it may have been a rare occurrence, when 26 people read that, it just grows.
Right.
And so that's why I always warn people to be very careful with their choice of words and what they think about, what they say.
Call the person directly.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
And go from there. It's one of those things that you have to do. For this sport.
So you believe, that the internet did open a lot of doors and kind of put racing back mainstream, though offset from what mainstream used to be. This is now mainstream.
Right. Exactly.
Well, now, Kelley, it's been great having you on. So I guess you're kind of saying that things are growing and tracks are looking better across the region, right? Kelley? Hello? Did we lose the line there?
Yeah, we lost them. I don't know if he lost service or what.
Huh. Well, he'll probably call back here in just a minute. Do we have Michael? Michael's never kind of hit us back yet. I hope he didn't forget about tonight. But anyway, wow, my goodness. We won't leave you guys with dead air. Kelley Carlton, my goodness. Talking about a guy who's been from, like we said, East Coast to West Coast, gotten to see the racing from, the other side. Definitely had a lot of experience. Guys, that's what it's all about. Sometimes, if you're a racer and, you feel like you still need to be a part of racing, but you can't drive or you can't afford to drive, there's always the other side. And young people, if you love the sport and you want to be a part of it, just look at what Mr. Carlton was talking about there. And, like I've reiterated, we weren't talking about 5 or 6 years ago that he was doing this. This was back in the 90s, late 90s, and early 2000s, where the tools that we have now weren't around. And he definitely made headway through the industry, got to know a lot of right people, and opportunities opened their door up because he was a hard worker. And we didn't get into the personal side. Kelley has a daughter and has been a paramedic throughout all this time too. So hopefully we'll get Kelley back on the line here. Any luck there, Jason?
No, still no.
Technical difficulties. My goodness. Yeah, I guess it's one of those nights. Was it a full moon, Jason?
I don't think so, because it was like not even a half a moon the last night I looked outside. I don't know if that was last night or not. I can't remember it now.
Wow. My goodness gracious. Let's see if we can reach him here on the internet side and see.
Could you imagine doing what we do without all this internet access? You know, I try to visualize doing this without the internet. I try to visualize doing this without any kind of social media. Because as much as everybody likes to bash Facebook and Twitter, well, without those, I mean, I know not everything we see on them is real, but it at least gives you an opportunity to start looking it up to find out, okay, is that story real? Is that story not real? And then when you start seeing them post, you see them post by, legitimate like Sporting News, ESPN.
I guess
NBA.
back then, everything, you had to be a true fanatic in order to find your information. These days, we make the information so there. It's resourceful to us and it's resourceful to our audience, and so it's always there. But back in those days, you really had to work for it. You really had to go and find it, and you had to know where your spots were to get your news at. Definitely changed a lot, but at the same time, there's been many writers to be writing at these sporting events for a long time. As a matter of fact, I think probably now you get less local media coverage as what you would have in the past.
I think one time I would like to go into a classroom, an elementary, maybe even a middle school classroom, walk in with a full set of encyclopedias and say, you're all doing a report on so-and-so or so-and-so topic. This is your resources, no phones, no nothing, to see how lost those kids are.
Right, I'm telling you. Try to take your tablets away from your 8 and 7-year-old and see if they get anything productive done that day. I mean, I'm telling you, it's almost it's a double-edged sword, Jason. It really is. I think Kelley kind of hit on that too. What's really tough on these tracks is when somebody has a bad night and maybe something didn't go their way or they didn't see the way something did, or we're talking about people, honest people out there making calls, and sometimes people make mistakes, and it's human error, and but then they'll go to Facebook or they'll go to Twitter and they'll bash and they'll break the honor code of racers, I think I've not met a track owner yet or a track promoter that hasn't said, hey, if there's something wrong, give me a call. I'll at least hear you out, That's all you can ask for. But, at the same time, how many times have we been to the point where we were stressed or something and we typed something and just, we gave it that second guess. No, we better not do that. And I think, some people have that and some people don't. And it is just the art of the internet. It opens some good doors, and then there's other times where, it definitely can cause bad influence. We always try to keep it clean. Still no sign from Kelley there?
No.
Wow, man.
Guys going to call back in, and the other guest they called. And if you happen to be in the studio, we got a few people listening in, and that's how they're catching the show. And you happen to be one of our guests, go ahead and press 1 so I can tell. But both of the guests that are all hanging out in the studio, they've been there since the beginning.
Yeah, Michael may call in at the 8:50 mark because that was his original interview time. I will hope for that there, though. But yeah, if you got somebody on the backdrop there, I guess go ahead and let them on. I'm interested to find out what happened to Mr. Carlton. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, got everybody on. If either anybody's listening in the studio wants to come on, got a question for the host, go ahead and press 1. I think everybody's just hanging out listening to catching the show.
Yeah.
I think also social media has been interesting when it comes to sports and racing. And as one of our guests on, I'm going to get ready to put one of our guests on. We don't get the wife we didn't used to get the wife reaction like we get now. Like, Samantha Bush, prime example. If she is displeased about something, now she has a voice that I think racing wives or spouses never really had before. And so I think that makes it interesting across all the sports because, back in the day it was, you might have seen their wife, on the pit box in ESPN or TNT or Fox or whatever, kind of zero in on it. But that was kind of their role. Now with social media and the new technology, it lets the wives and the husbands of these athletes be a little more vocal, and I think that's interesting. I think you could tell which ones have told their significant other, you need to keep our in-house stuff in-house, and you could tell the other ones that their spouses either didn't say nothing or just don't care what their significant other goes running the mouth on. Yeah, we got a caller in the studio.
All right, caller, what you got?
Hey, it's Rosie.
Hey, it's Rosie. What are you doing, Rosie? You listening in to the show?
Yeah, as always, I like to tune in and listen and learn.
Yeah, did you go to Batesville last night?
I went to Batesville last Saturday night.
Okay, give us a rundown of what happened.
Oh my word, it was really cool. There was a lot of racers there. Trying to remember, I'm having to go back to my memory file, so to speak. Autism memory,
yeah.
You know how it
Was
is.
Jeremy Russell there?
I think so. I could be mistaken, but I didn't go down into the pit. But hopefully someday I will return.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of racers, about 4 per heat race. There was about, I'm thinking 18 to 20 for the main A and B feature. And my friend, who's the track owner, Connie Starr, her son was in the second heat race, last heat race. There was 4. And her son, they transferred the top 3 of each heat race to the main feature, plus some of the others. Well, long story short, Connie Starr's son, and then number 5, came in second in his heat race, and he actually won what is the last race of the night called? Is it A or B? I get confused.
It's the A main.
A main feature, thank you. He won the A main, but his brother in the number 28, Rex, ended up his tail in he was coming off straight away on the front, then got turned around by another racer, and the back of his car got all tore up. But it was really cool to watch the races. I mean, it wasn't a packed house, but could have been, but I think it's just because how the weather was. Everyone wasn't really iffy about it.
Right. Well, Rosie, it's always glad to have you listening to us, and give a shout-out to a few of your friends, and we thank you again for listening to the Dirt Talk Hour.
I always try my best to tune in. I'd like to give a shout-out to Chris Cunningham, who I think is there. My greetings. Hi. And I'd like to give a shout-out to all the dirt track racers who support the autism awareness movement, and also to just bring awareness to autism itself. My friends in the dirt track racing world, my thanks. You are teaching me so much. Have a great day and stay out of trouble.
All right, thank you, Rosie. Awesome. Great to have her listening in there. So we're getting a little bit closer to the 8:50 mark. I'm still hoping Michael Arnold gives us a talk here. He won last night at Jackson. Michael went on a tear starting, I guess, at the end of 2014, and it carried on through 2015. He won about every big race they had in the state of Mississippi, and it's 2016 here, and it seems to be that he's not stopping that freight train. He was 2015 NeSmith Crate Model national champion, and looking to back it up again this year, a local racer at Hattiesburg Speedway, drove go-karts before he stepped up to late model racing. and it'll be really fun to talk to him if he comes on at the 8:50 time. The race has kind of been the show's kind of been stumbling here, and we do give our apologies. Damien floated down the river and got a little bit too far away than where he was expecting to. I guess they had to paddle back up. The trolley motor went out on him, and so that fishing trip turned into a long day. At least he was okay though. Sometimes these fishing trips can go pretty bad. My goodness gracious, watching dirt track racing on the Facebook here, video of Boom Briggs crash at Farmer City Raceway. My goodness, that back of that car just absolutely exploded there. Interesting to see if they have more video of that. What you got, Jason?
I do have a question. Talking about all of this rain, and I know last week, not last night, but the week before when I went to the track, I know it had rained a little bit, and it kind of threw it back about an hour. What's the difference for those that are kind of new to dirt track? And I've been to 5 or 6 nights out at the dirt track, but still kind of new to it. What's the difference in the procedure for trying to dry an asphalt track versus a dirt track? And generally, how long does it take for them to get the track prepared after it's rained when it comes to dirt track?
Well, first of all, the major difference is when you have pavement or asphalt or concrete that gets wet, basically once the rain stops, you can use the heat generated off of cars and kind of dry up the racetrack pretty quick. Now, that technique works as well in dirt track racing, but there does come a point in time where too much rain will either wash out the pits where cars can't get through there or completely wash out the speedway. When you have banks, high banks on your racetrack, it kind of helps out a little bit, but there again, you can wash out the racing surface. The best thing to do, just like NASCAR, is if the rain starts coming down a little bit, keep the cars on the racetrack. Believe it or not, you're building up a CO2 pocket that's rising up into the air, into the atmosphere, and kind of shielding that rain. So a lot of times I've seen racetracks be able to actually push it. And I know some people say, that's just superstitious. You're talking crazy. No, I'm not. I mean, I'm serious. Keeping the cars out on the track is the best way to keep racing in. And it's more than just that reason. It's also the reason of once you lose the racetrack, you'll have to get out there. And some people use a sheep's foot. Some people use actually, we've seen a device that Rodney Wing used at Wynot Motorsports Park that actually broke up the ground in 6 different patterns. And it was a device bought by Dr. Dirt, Johnny Stokes, up at Magnolia Motor Speedway. He was kind enough to let Rodney borrow it for the big Battle of the States event. And let me tell you, that thing got into the ground and it just shoveled everything up. Now, if you can't get a tractor through there without the tractor sliding down, that's when you pretty much have a washout, Jason. A dirt track can only take so much rain, where pretty much on a pavement track, once the rain stops, that's where you can start your cleanup process. But at a dirt track, there does come a point in time where it's just rained too much.
Gotcha. Well, you're talking about having the cars stay out there to help keep the track dry. If it gets too wet and they pull the cars off, I'm just imagining this dirt turning into more of a mud fixture and causing issues with the car blocking up stuff.
Right. When I say that, they can't handle very much rain. Most of the time, if it starts to come a downpour, they'll pretty much pull the cars off. But a lot of times, especially in the South, we have a misty rain, and we see the clouds coming in. Or scattered showers in fronts cause 2 different problems at racetracks. Scattered showers can just come out of nowhere during the hot months of the season and just dump a whole bunch of water down on your racetrack at the wrong time. And then a front, you can kind of pretty much prepare for your racetrack to handle when a cold front comes through. So So pretty much, it depends on what kind of weather it is and what's being caused. What's causing the weather? I'm sorry, my son. He was trying to tell me something there. I think Damien's on the line. Damien, did you come in?
You got a guest in the studio.
Yes,
okay.
I'm finally home. How are you doing this evening, Chris?
I'm doing good, Damien. And we have a guest our guest in the studio?
No, I have not had a chance. I just did walk through the door. I threw my stuff down and ran in here and jumped on.
I thought I heard Jason say we had the guest as well.
No, I was referring to Damien. I meant to say your co-host was in the studio. My bad.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we haven't heard from Michael here, so I guess he didn't.
Oh, what a day.
What a day, man. What a day. Tell us something about what you got going on there, Damien.
Well, me and a buddy of mine, we're pretty active bass fishermen, and we've been mulling the idea around to go down to Table Rock Lake down there in the Lake of the Ozarks and fish a couple of these bass tournaments. So we figured this morning we got up, we left out of here about 4:30. It's about a 3.5 hour drive from where I live to the Ozarks, and we get down there, and anyone that's ever been down to the lake, the big lake, knows that lake is hundreds of square miles, and there are many coves and inlets that go on for anywhere from a half a mile to a mile at a time before you get back out into the main channel. Well, we were in one of these coves fishing, and we're hitting them pretty hard, and we decided to pull out and go try another spot. And we didn't realize that the wind it went from calm water to probably a steady 20 to 25 mile an hour, gusting at 40 to 45. And it was like this yesterday all day, but it didn't do it again today until this afternoon. And that wind caught us, and all we had was the trolling motor, and we didn't fare too well.
Down the river you went, huh?
We fought it as long as we could, but you got to understand, on a lake that's that size, your put-in points are scattered out, few and far in between, and we were already downstream of where we had launched, so once the trolling motor died from fighting the wind, we were sitting ducks, so it was about another 1.5 miles that we had to float down until I could get a spot to where we could put the boat on the bank that I could actually get the truck to it. So once we got it on the bank, had to do a little bit of a hike to get the truck and then come back and get it, and got a ticket on the way home, and here I am.
Well, now that would be why I would bring one of those deep sea fishing rods. And my buddy would be like, Chris, why are you bringing that deep-sea fishing rod? And I'd say, because just in case we get to going down this river too fast and can't get turned around, I'm going to throw this thing over there and I'm going to cast me a line, and I'm going to hold us where we're going and kind of give us an extra anchor. But they'd say I was crazy for that, and I probably wouldn't last very long in the fishing world.
Man, anything would have helped us out today. We were stuck, buddy. It wasn't very fun, but we got through it, and nobody got wet. So
the winds just come out of nowhere, huh? And, wow.
Well,
we're not used to winds around here unless hurricanes come in. But the Midwest, y'all get a pretty good dust up every now and then, don't you?
Yeah. Usually, every time one of these low pressure systems comes brushing in off the Rockies, it usually puts out a pretty good gust ahead of it, and it's been like that here for the last 2 days. Yesterday, pretty much all day long, I think we were
It's kind of what I was explaining to Jason here, Damien, about the difference in a scattered thunderstorm and a front. Being that we're in the southern region and the Gulf Coast region, we get a lot of scattered thunderstorms. A little moisture builds up, from the coast and pushes on up, and so it's liable to dump water anywhere in the state, at any given time. But now when you have a front coming in, it kind of adds instability, but in reality, it kind of gives the racetracks a chance to prepare for what they're going to have, for what kind of weather.
Yeah, as long as you the weather does, especially up here in the Midwest. I mean, just a few ticks and the barometric pressure and the humidity can mean the difference between a tacky track halfway through the night to where you're dry slick before hot laps are done. So weather does play a very big part in track preparations as far as what the facility itself is going to do to, as far as how many gallons per water they dump on it, as the racers, as to what kind of a tire compound they're going to use, how they'll actually groove and sife their tires if they think the track's going to go dry slick. I mean, a lot plays into it, and the weather plays a big role into it, whereas NASCAR is just like, well, if it's raining, we can't race.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's no jet dryers in dirt track racing. I don't know if y'all knew that, but
I actually saw at one point there was an outlaw race. This was a couple of years ago, and I don't know if you may have saw this. This was on one of the televised ordeals. It may have even been, it was the World Finals a couple of years ago from Charlotte. And they got a bunch of rain in there, and they pulled the jet dryers from Charlotte Speedway over to the dirt track and was trying to dry the dirt with the jet dryers, and it didn't work out very well. It did not.
Yeah, I believe Austin Dillon was there for that one.
Yeah, it was one of his ideas that didn't pan out very well. But, hey, you got to give him the A for effort, man.
I've always thought that maybe a tarp, because like what Major League Baseball uses, or baseball uses to pull over the field during rain delays. But I do believe that probably the next invention will be open air stadiums. I think that that's really going to be a hot commodity for every big city, and if the dirt track world really wants to expand and go mainstream, you'll see dirt track races more like at the Gateway coming soon to an open air stadium near you.
Hey, that would be awesome. I can't wait for the race here in St. Louis at the Dome, December 15th through the 17th. There's over 400 of the best cars throughout the country already signed in to be there, and tickets are going fast. And, man, I can't wait for this. I think it's going to be, as you said, I think this could open a lot of eyes if it's done right and they do it well. And this could, like you say, open up a whole new venue all across the country to.
It really could. It really could, Damien. Yeah, I mean, think about the possibilities that it opens. The Chili Bowl, the success that it runs off of. And like I said, these retractable roof stadiums, it's like one's going in every city or near you. It's the way to maximize productivity through your arena 365 days a year. You can be everything from horse shows, go-karts, racing, monster trucks, baseball, football. The entire events can be held right there in one facility.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it would be a great way to keep these guys racing throughout the year and kind of maybe help the sport out a little bit. But like you said, it has to be done right. I mean, the Chili Bowl, it took them a few years to get that lined out and streamlined, running the way that it is now, which they do an amazing job out there. But if you take a look at what they did with the Indy Invitational last year, the first inaugural year for that, big show, a lot of people showed up, and they were just so underprepared, and in almost every aspect of anything preparation-wise for that race, it took a while to get that race in. I mean, there was a lot of time in between cautions. There was a lot of downtime. I'd say there was probably at least half the amount of downtime as there was race time, just because of the overwhelming response of the fans that showed up, the drivers that showed up, and the minimum staff they had working there. So absolutely, they have to do it right, and if they can, I think it'll be successful. And I would, for one, love it. I would love to see racing all year round here in the Midwest.
Yeah, me too.
Man,
not just in the Midwest, all around. I mean,
oh yeah, for just all across the country. Speaking of here in the Midwest, did you happen to see where Josh Richards swept both nights of the Illini 100 this weekend? Yeah,
if you got some news from that way, tell us about it real quick, Damien, before we let everybody go.
Yeah, the Illini 100 was supposed to be this weekend up at Farmer City there in Illinois, and Friday night they were almost ready to go out there and start hot lapping, and Mother Nature came in with one of those pop-up thunderstorms you were talking about. They got a little bit of hail and just enough rain to wash the night out, so they pushed it back one night, and last night Josh Richards went out there and put one on them, and went out there again tonight, and as I'm reading here right now, he got the win again. Bobby Pierce was a close second, followed by Bloomer, Mike Marlar, and Brandon Shepard. So the usual top of the list finished right there at the top of the list. So, man, Richards, I'm telling you what, he went down to Speed Weeks. I think he won like 7 or 8 races, and now he's winning, marquee events already. I think I think Davenport's going to have some healthy competition this year because.
Yeah, I think Davenport won this weekend too. I seen somewhere they called him Superman. What do you think about that?
I can't remember what track that was. It might have been the Smoky Mountain or something like that. I can't remember exactly where that was, but yeah, he picked up a win. Man, did you see that wreck Weaver took down at the EAMS Speedway last night? Where we caught the right rear off the berm and it sucked the front of the car in, and he
wasn't much left of it, was it?
What's that?
I said it wasn't much left of it, was it?
Oh no, that car was a complete loss. I mean, they'll be lucky to salvage the fuel cell out of that car. It was it was pretty scary to watch. There's videos out. I've seen 2 separate videos almost from the same spot, but one of them showed it a lot better. And man, he took a hell of a ride, man. That goes to show, how much safety has come around in these cars, because you take a ride like that, 20, 25 years ago, and he may not have walked away from that because it was a pretty scary ride.
Right, definitely. Well, guys, that's the 9 o'clock mark there, and I guess we've never had quite the night that we've had tonight, and we unfortunately did not have one of our guests call in. I think that's a first in itself, and then the unusual disconnection with Kelley. I don't know, Jason. It was kind of a weird night there.
Was it a full moon?
I asked Jason the same thing, right? Was it a full moon? My goodness gracious. Producer, what did you learn tonight?
Oh, how easy I really do have it. Listening to him, and part of my gift to myself for the 110 Nation out of my taxes was to get something not quite like a laptop, but I'm getting a Nextbook, and it's like an 11-inch screen, and it's a laptop / tablet. And so it is a really cool thing. And so that adds one more thing to have accessible during the shows, especially when I'm in the studio with my computer and then the tablet, and I'm working on getting my tower. I'm actually going to have another computer, so I actually have 2 computers with this tablet / laptop going on. And that way I can function a little bit better, watch the studio easier, because one screen can just stay in the studio. One I could be looking up stuff, and another one could, whatever, social media or whatever. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, if I had been doing this back in the 90s, I just couldn't imagine it. Like, I realized how good that I have it, even though I sit there thinking to myself, we need this and we need this. I mean, hell, we was just joking earlier this week or last week about getting an RV or a jet, when that time comes, kind of conversation, and just sitting there thinking, I couldn't imagine not having everything we have now, even what we do have.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely, some people really laid the groundwork for what we're able to do today, and Kelley Carlton is definitely one of those pioneers. How about Boom Briggs' car down there at Farmer City Raceway?
Oh, man.
I mean, that back end just exploded when he hit the wall there. I had to watch the video to see how exactly it happened. My goodness gracious. It just...
I'm actually looking at the picture of that right now as you
he hit the wall there and just boom, it exploded the back end of that car.
Yeah, I can't say that I've never seen... Wow, that's... And if you haven't seen a picture or the video or know what he's speaking of, folks, apparently...
Yeah, share it over there to the Dirt Talk Hour.
Yeah, I'll do that. The back end of this car, I'd say, from pretty much the driver's roll bar right behind the seat back is bent upward at almost a 90-degree angle. I've never seen that. Wow. I'm glad he walked away from that.
Definitely. Well, guys, we're going to have a short show tonight. I've been battling the weather here, as some of you can probably hear. Damien, I'm glad everything turned out safe for you, and glad to have you on the show there.
I'm sorry I couldn't make it back, but we tried to get out of there about 1:30 this afternoon, and it just did not work out that way.
Yeah, that's the way it goes, man. No, we're glad to have you call in when you did get in. But as for all you Dirt Talk Hour fans, thank y'all for listening in, and we'll be back next Sunday, same bat time, same bat place. Damien, you want to close it out?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, folks, sorry the show was kind of a shortened version this week. We'll do our best to take care of that for you next week. And like Chris said, we'll see you right back here, 8 o'clock next Sunday night for the Dirt Talk Hour. Until then, we'll see you.
Bye.
Out of ice cream? Forgot the diapers? Don't feel like going to the store? Am I right? Skip the trip with Amazon Prime Now. Prime Now is the super fast delivery service available exclusively for Amazon Prime members. Download the Prime Now app on your smartphone and get access to thousands of products available for delivery right to your door. Choose from free 2-hour delivery and 1-hour delivery for $7.99 in select areas. That's hours, not days. If you need it, get it without leaving the house. Get the app at primenow.com and start shopping fast.